maybe 1082 or 3. I'd maybe be a 1082 or 3. I'm going to the homebrew store right now. I'm going to get some supplies. I love this place, Eagle Rock Homebrew Supply. Eagle Rock's a pretty rad place. They have great bars, Highland Park area, kind of connected to it 10 years ago, like 15 years ago probably even. Really not a good place to live, like really ghetto and just kind of run down. But in the last 10 years, it's really come up and kind of expensive to live there actually. It has little parts of it that are run down I'd still stay, but it's not dangerous at all. But hipsters like me love it, so. I do love the Eagle Rock Brew Supply place. I love that you can open up a bunch of containers and look at what hops you have and smell them on the spot. The downside to that is that they're constantly being exposed to oxygen. So that does suck, but if you have vacuum sealed hops, you're not ever having to worry about, oxygen exposure. Then again, you have to overbuy probably to get fresh ones, make sure they're fresh in case some aren't. So there's definitely, a give and take on that end. Today I'm doing a really weird beer. I'm going to try and do a champagne beer. So I had to get this pretty high in gravity. I think my starting OG I'm going for is about 1095. And then what I'm going to do is feed it with sugar along the way. I'm not going to put sugar in the boil. I want the yeast to consume some of the sugars that it needs to, even some of the longer dextrins or some of the longer chains that it can have access to. And then I'll just dose it with a bunch of corn sugar, which is high in glucose. It might just be all 100% glucose. It's highly fermentable either way. I'll put the corn sugar probably in high Krausen when it's really going, really churning along, maybe after 2 days of fermentation. And then maybe again at the end of fermentation. I haven't decided yet if I want to do it twice. The idea behind this is to get this as dry as possible. I want this to be below 1010. I don't know if I can do that. That's going to be very difficult to do starting at 1095. I was debating whether to start at 1080 or so and then try and get it below 1010. Even if I started at 1080, going below 1010 is extremely hard. I'm going to add a little wine to this. I haven't chose the white wine I want to do yet. My girlfriend works at Everson Royce in Pasadena. It's a wine shop. And I'm going to have her choose something I think would go well with this. So I think you can do 1 bottle of wine to about 5 gallons of beer is equivalent to what you want to maybe get out of a wine or have some wine flavor into it. So I'm doing a 1 gallon batch. I might even go below a quarter of a bottle. I might do an eighth of a bottle, add it to the 1 gallon, and again a secondary, stir it in, taste it, and see if it's good. I could always add more, but I can't take away if I've added too much. If at the end of a secondary and it's a little flat and a little one-dimensional, I might add some fruit. The recipe for this is 100% two-row and a little bit of acid malt to bring my pH to the range I need it to be, which is, for this recipe, it's 6.2% acid malt. The yeast I'm using is USO5. It's a clean yeast. I figured just keep it really simple in that regard. So the ABV is going to be hopefully around 13%. That's after adding corn sugar along the way. The hops I'm using is Styrian Goldings, but I'm not using the regular Styrian Goldings. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's pronounced
Celia.
Celia? Let's go Celia. According to some sites I read, it's a hybrid strain from Slovenia and it's imported from England in the 1930s. And it's the ancestor of today's Styrian Goldings. The aroma and flavor characteristics are earthy, resinous, sort of like fuggle, but more refined and more restrained in nature. The worst case scenario is going to taste like a unhopped, sweet, fruited barley wine. But I'll have a gallon of it. If it blows and it turns out awful, then who cares? I can just dump 3 to 4 bottles of it, which is what I probably have left if I had fruit. Experimentation for the win? just insane. That's just absolutely... How was it I was fine the last time, and this time I'm like skyrocketingly high on my pH? It doesn't actually make sense. Am I the only one that actually has to go through this on brew days? I feel like everyone has it all dialed in, they got it all figured out. I'm brewing every weekend, and I still can't get this dialed in. Alright, I'm gonna try and calibrate this really quickly, and maybe that's off. I don't know. I am under a time crunch right now, though.
The ant doesn't know that there's more than the patio here. He just keeps walking. He doesn't know. He's just part of of lots of worlds. And the human race is sort of like that.
There are ways to do this and calibrate this properly. I got the instructions here. This is the brand. There. Here's the buffering powders that come with it. I'm gonna follow these steps exactly on how to do this. By the time I get this done, it'll probably be 20 minutes into the mash, so it might be a waste. I think I'm my right pH though, because I know what I've been getting in the past. But I guess I gotta recalibrate this. That's more like it. I didn't treat the mash water at all. I just recalibrated my meter. It's good to know that everything I'm doing before works, and I just gotta calibrate this every so often, so that's alright though. I just gotta keep that in mind. It's good to have pH calibration solutions around for the record.
Some may not have been discovered, and some may be on places we can't go. And they all might have the same perspective as we do on this.
10:44, right on target. I'm gonna let it go, and then about 30-40 minutes in, I'm going to check the gravity reading again and see where I'm at. But yeah, so far so good. $10:59. So I'm 30 minutes into the boil. I'm gonna take another gravity reading in about 20 minutes from now, and if I'm like 1070-ish, I'll probably boil a little longer. My IBUs are 13 right now. If I go as high as 20, I don't care. 1075. All right, I'm gonna let this go longer than 60 minutes. I think if I were to cut it off in 10 minutes, I'd maybe be at 1080. I'm gonna go another 20 minutes from now, which would put me at 70 minutes for the boil, and test it then. Wish me luck. 1091. Awesome. I have about a minute left in the boil, and that's about a 68, 70 minute boil, somewhere in that range. I think technically if I turn it off in a minute, I'll be at 68 minutes. So yeah, I got what I wanted. I'm happy. I have never done this before. I forgot the Whirlflock, and I forgot the yeast nutrient, and I forgot to put the chiller in there. So I think instead of boiling this again, I'm just gonna keep it at around 200 degrees and like steep everything. It makes more sense. The yeast I'm going to use today is from the Hoppy Rye Ale I did. I got some slurry here. There's a lot of hop goop in it, but whatever, right? This is a really, really high gravity beer, starting around 1090, 1091. So ideally, I should actually put pure oxygen into this. My tank is empty, so I cannot put pure oxygen into this. I'm gonna have to swirl this like a mother effer. I'm probably gonna do a little bit of a swirl after the first 24 hours of fermentation. Not like a shake, just a little bit of a swirl. So I'm gonna baby this a bit and hopefully it actually ferments out. I got the cell phone out. That's all I got right now. Pitching some yeast. This is like 3 hours later, maybe 4. That should be enough yeast. It's been 2 days since the brew day, and I'm now going to add some sugar to the fermenter. That's it right now. So that's Heikrausen. And I am going to add 3 ounces of corn sugar. I put about a half cup of water with that 3 ounces of corn sugar and boiled it for about 15 minutes and then cooled it down. I don't think I put enough water in there because it's like a thick syrup. I have a sanitized rubber spatula in there, and hopefully it helps scoop it out. In we go. All right, so I obviously need to put more water in that the next time I do this. I've heard that you can also pour corn sugar as a powder directly in. I just felt weird doing that, not for contamination reasons, but more to let the sugars dissolve a bit. And I don't know if that really makes a difference, but to me in my head, I think the yeast have more access to that. I could be making that up, but it just seemed like the right thing to do. The wine I'm adding into this, I decided is going to be a Muscadet. I'm not that well versed in too many wines, but as far as I understand it, this is a French wine from the Loire Valley, and it is a grape called Melon de Bourgogne. I could totally botch that name, but I think it's like a really dry wine and maybe a little fruit to it. I think that could go really well with this champagne style sort of beer I'm trying to make. I think this could be okay.